a meeting of Harpenden Town Council's Environment Committee, Wednesday the 20th of July. I think I have to remind everybody that this is being recorded. I might be putting on our website for people to look at, so if people don't want to be recorded or filmed, please leave now. Start the agenda. Any apologies for absence?
Yes, Chair, I've received apologies from Councillor Weaver.
Thank you. Any declarations of interest?
Yes, please. I'd just like to declare a personal non-pecuniary interest in agenda item 7.6 as a trustee and secretary of East Harpenden Gardening Club.
Thank you. Any others? No. Okay. Chairman's report and urgent items. I don't think I've got any. Number 4, public questions in accordance with Standing Order 64. I think it's any such questions. Thank you. Okay, so item 5, to confirm the minutes of the Environment Committee meeting held on the 18th of May, which are circulated in here. And can I sign those as a true record?
Yeah.
Yes. All of that? Thank you. Initial of it, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I should really, just for the sake of completeness and clarity, I'd just like to declare a non-prejudicial interest in item 7.7, Bottomsea Park Action Plan, as portfolio holder and district councillor.
Okay. Likewise, Chair, I'm not sure if I need to, if I'm on the, no, I probably don't, if I'm district councillor on the management committee for Roger's business.
We'll check that.
We'll check.
We'll
Sorry, because
check
I'm not.
those two to see
Yes,
whether
I'm not
they
sure whether we actually are
it sounds a bit
declarable.
remote, actually.
Yes, I think it is, but perhaps just to err on the side of caution for formal sake.
We'll look into that. Okay, thank you. Okay, so next one is minutes of meetings reported to the Environment Committee. 6.1, to receive the minutes of the Westfield Task and Finish Group held on the 13th of May 2016. Does anybody have any comments on that? Just receive those. Is that okay? Everyone in favour of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now on to item 7, the various officers' reports. Start with the action tracker. Storage depot, I think that's moving along.
Yes, Chair.
Anything extra to report on that? Anything further? So that's completely up to date.
Sorry, Chair, just so, can we have a feeling when that might, a sort of date when we might be completing, or just, I think it might be helpful if there's sort of, because there's no completion target within.
Yeah, fair enough. As far as I know, and I haven't been directly involved in this, I need to get up to speed on it. I believe we're working on developing some kind of it's going to require planning permission, isn't it? So
Yes, it's in the conservation area. It is applied for change of use.
Yep.
As well, and obviously you have already expressed a desire to have an input in the design, so some form of design needs to be considered.
Yep. And then we'll have it'll certainly be 8 weeks of planning for a start, and then probably build time 3 months.
Yes, we have extended the lease for the temporary storage facility that we have at Townsend Nursery for a year in order to ensure that we have adequate storage facilities.
Thank you.
So not I should think at the earliest by the end of the year.
No.
At the earliest.
No.
In terms of completion.
No, I just want to get a sense of that.
Point noted, and we'll look at that. Okay, the area shelters. To be honest, I don't know. I'm just it's a personal view. I mean, I haven't been down into the area shelters, but you know, not clear to me why anybody would want to do them and have them as a sort of an attraction, as it were, because what's in there, you know, just a council petition.
Actually, it's a fairly long-going project that most people, most of the public have been interested and said they would gain something out of. In fairness, Mr. Chairman, I can't really associate myself with your remarks there. It says this will be applied for in 2016. I've got no problem with what's there. Has this been applied for in the before this was printed? And if it hasn't, when in 2016?
The grant application hasn't been completed. It was reliant on the analysis from the questionnaires and being undertaken, which is actually within the remit of the Community Services Officer, of which we don't have one currently. So we're sort of picking up the slack as we go. We can prioritise the project a little bit further up the second order if you'd like us to.
Well, I know that there was a lot of, it's been here for some time now, that's not just the officers' fault, you've had problems with HR-wise, but there were offers from members of the community, people would like to help, offer considerable amount of expertise for free. And it would be a shame to sort of see that drift off because of inaction.
I was only going to make a sort of background comment on this. It wasn't this shelter, I think it might have been the shelter on Leighton Green. 2 or 3 years ago, arrangements were made for councillors to go down. I have to say,
it was all of them.
All of them, and they will obviously have to look at how you health and safety. They were extraordinarily difficult to get in and out of.
Yes. But when you get down there, what do you sort of do? Do you want to give us some background?
I mean this with the greatest possible respect to colleagues, but saying, oh, this is really, really bad, when you start off by saying, I don't know much about this, but is frankly a little bit.
Well, so what's
right, so the idea is, yes, they're meant to be extraordinarily difficult to get in and out of, because they're out of commission. We don't want people going in and out of them. When it was easier to get into them, people used to, as you see, you get detritus, people would break into them, things like that.
It's on YouTube.
Absolutely, yeah, it's on YouTube, people doing it from years ago. What the feasibility study is there to do is to find out whether one, we don't want to use more than that, we want to probably fill in the others. Just one, but one, probably the largest, which is on, not Leighton Green, but down Bowes Parade, whether that would be possibly accessible and other space excavated, so not just have the area shelter, so that people could actually use that as some kind of a museum or historical attraction which is available at certain times during the year. There are similar attractions like this throughout the country. There are none very near Hertfordshire, and it's an important part of looking at our heritage when we look at things like Hearts of War and actually the effect of war on people's communities. There was quite a lot of enthusiasm. Councillors who, members of the Parliament Committee who had the chance to go and investigate this, this is about 3 years ago, quite enthusiastic about that, but once we've got that feasibility study back, we'll have a better idea. It might be a complete no-go, but certainly there were constructive ideas behind it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you want to say anything?
I'd just like to say that I agree with Dan actually on this. I think it is a very important part of Harpenden's history, and I obviously wasn't a councillor at the time. I'd have loved the opportunity just to even go down for a quick look myself, but if these were open to the public, I think there'd be huge interest from local historical groups, schools, etc. And it would bring in extra people to town. I think it would be a really good thing for Harpenden actually.
It was actually interesting going down.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd agree with both Pippa and Dan. I was fully behind this when we discussed it at some point last year. I think it would be a good tool for schools as well. They can organise trips there as part of their history lessons. I've spoken to quite a lot of people in town about it. I've mentioned it. They say, what do you do on the Environment Committee? I mentioned that recently in the past few months, and people, air raid shelters, they didn't realise we had some, and so that's quite interesting. So I think there would be quite a bit of interest for this within Harpenden.
So Bowes Parade, do you think is the...
Yeah, that's the one who came down.
That's quite large.
One of them was suffering from lots of mud flowing to it on the common, and was the smallest. And then there are two separate ones, and I went and left them green.
Well, maybe you ought to arrange another visit.
Oh, yeah, I'll be here.
All right.
Has anybody thought about the way we're going to monitor these and who's going to be in charge of them? And are we going to make any money out of it or not? Is there going to be a charge to go in and have a look at it?
I haven't reached that point yet.
No.
Probably not. Probably not decided yet.
Once the process gets further along, I assume then those considerations will be taken, or those decisions will be taken into consideration, I guess. But because we're where we are at with that, we haven't really thought about that yet.
All right, fine. Let's move on to Westfield Recreation consultation. That's completed, isn't it?
Yes.
December 2015.
We're waiting for a response from the District Council. We've made an application for £30,000 for Section 106 funds. The response we should have by the end of this week was the new budget item of £40,000 that was allocated by the Council. And if we're successful with Section 106, we'll be able to place the order and progress this. So it should be open within a 8 to 10 week period.
Good. Sounds good. Okay, number 4, Back Springs, grassland area.
That's just ongoing matter of chairs for monitoring.
Fine.
Sorry, can I just say something?
Yeah, sure, please.
Thank you.
Please.
And then obviously this was a sort of trial area to start with. There were reasons why I think some residents, myself included, were I'm not against meadows per se, but in this particular area at Backford Springs, it is an amenity area, and there wasn't a proper consultation with the public about continuing the meadow, so now it spreads across the whole side of the Backford side of the nature reserve, and especially at Larks it was very obvious. People thought that side of the reserve that was neglected, as opposed to maybe appreciating the aspects of the meadow. It just looked shabby compared to the Marquis Lane side. I appreciate it's a different part of the nature reserve as to the play area at Marquis Lane, but I do feel that the second area that was a trial period hasn't necessarily worked in terms of with the public. So there's people, for instance, playing football in the patch, so they haven't got a flat space themselves to use. So I would quite like, if possible, to go back and actually consult with some of the residents and have some local input and decide whether they are happy with it as it is. And it doesn't help that the verges, we've had problems with having them cut lately, and the weeds and things like that don't help make the whole area look a bit untidy. But I think it would be a nice idea to actually communicate with some of the residents the Backford side and see if they're happy to continue those trial areas.
Any comments on that?
Members decided they'd like to do a consultation. I think provided that we do obviously engage with the Backford Springs volunteers who are integral to the management of the site. And I think, as you say, the trial's been running for some time now. There may be a lack of knowledge, and perhaps we should have some form of information boards down there as well. Perhaps that would alleviate some people's queries as well.
Okay.
I did say someone the working party for the Backford Springs group. I did say to the guys, would have been last summer, about putting notice boards up to explain what you're doing, and it probably was on this issue. I'm not sure if it was on this issue, it's on something else, but I did say put notice boards up because people aren't too sure what you're doing. All it needs is a little piece of paper on some of the notice boards, explain it via Facebook, Twitter, all these other devices, and people will understand, people will be able to get involved a little bit more and think, oh, either I do like that or I don't like that, I'll get in contact. So I did say to them about this. I would have thought they would have acted on that suggestion, but maybe if we remind them again, we said, look, this is a good idea to do, and kind of chase them up on it, I think.
Okay. All right, so do we think we want to do some more consultation? What do people think? That's been suggested by Councillor Martin. Any thoughts?
I'm surprised they haven't done a proper consultation process, as it were. I thought that was the plan.
I don't know the history of this one.
No, I've just asked because I'm new to this committee. Maybe. I'm not sure if there has been any consultation. Has there been consultation previously?
No, not I'm aware of.
Not on that, no. So,
All right, well, let's
think
say
about them.
think about some consultation.
Yes.
Talk to the
But
volunteers about that.
Well, I think I could get the Commons and Greens officer to take
Yeah.
volunteers. She's in regular communication with them. And it could be something that would be an ideal opportunity during the summer months when obviously the springs are being used, so with go out to the play area and what have you as well.
And it would be an opportunity to explain to people
What's that?
what's happening. Yes. Or
Okay.
what we're doing that, yes.
And your idea about notice?
Yeah, remind them about that, if they're going to do any of that.
Yes, there is a proposal for a new information board
Good.
down at Springs. So there'll be like welcome boards and also sort of like boards we've got on the common, sort of telling them about the different habitats and things like
Yeah.
that. But this obviously would have to be a temporary signage, just to let people know that there's this is a chance.
Okay, we can measure that.
I'll let members know how that would
Okay.
go.
Right, next item, Harding Parade. I have raised that with the portfolio holder, but I haven't had a response. I'll give them another nudge tomorrow evening.
It's about time. This has been on our books for the last 13 years, and it's a disgrace that nothing's been done about it before now, because sometime the walls around them are going to fall down, somebody's going to stumble over it, and we're going to be caught for an accident.
The walls are already beginning to crumble, but I don't like to pass the buck, but it's not actually our responsibility.
No,
we are really piggy in the middle here, aren't we?
SADC, they should be doing it, and it's been reported to them for over 13 years at least.
Dan?
I completely agree with what Councillor Kent has just said. I think this was one of the first things I remember hearing about and seeing reporting when I first became town councillor, which is a decade ago now. And it was exactly where we are now. The ball, the ball is not in our court. Well, it's not the pig in the middle, but the ball and the pig have never actually ever moved. They've just stayed static, and that's really frustrating. I suggest that we write formally to the chief executive of the district council about this. Certainly, I'm happy to join you, Mr. Chairman, in prompting with urgency.
Tomorrow night. It says here, Clark, this is 3rd of June 15, Clark has to contact leader of district council to progress. That should have probably been the chief executive.
Yeah, because the leader of the council has enough in his plate.
Absolutely,
It should be the chief executive. I think we should make quite forcefully the point that Councillor Kent has made, and also the fact that in the past, when bricks have come out, drunks and ne'er-do-wells have thought, oh, a brick, that must have been put there for a reason, and it's threw it to a shop. That has happened.
Okay. Noted. Right, Oakley Road and Magna Class play areas. I think the funding for the Oakley Road was achieved, and that's duly opened during my time as mayor. I can't remember which month it was. Might have been April. March or April. We opened it. Looks terrific. I'm not sure where we are. I don't have an up-to-date position on that.
From talking to Councillor Cooley, who is on the Borg group that is doing fundraising, he doesn't think there's much of an appetite to have it transferred from the district council until the other site is fully refurbished. I understand that he was doing they were doing consultations last week with users about what sort of equipment they'd like to see up there. So they're working on it. So it's, I think, new. Unless you would like me to take it off the tracker, we'll just have to sort of keep it on there and monitor the situation.
Okay. Do we have to? Would we need to transfer both of them together, or
No.
could they be done separately?
No, they could be done separately. They're separate items,
Okay.
separate locations.
Well, I think we could ask for a report, couldn't we, from Councillor Cooley as to where that matters stand.
Yeah, I mean, Oakley Road is refurbished now. We could transfer that now. Really, I don't see why we should wait until Magna Close is refurbished to transfer Oakley Road.
I would disagree with that. So presumably the next step is we have to apply to district, get it transferred to us through the usual process.
And I understand from being at another meeting last night, there is a considerable waiting list of assets that are being transferred over at the moment. So we would go to the bottom of the list, but at least we'd be on the list.
Sorry, and when you said that you didn't think there was an appetite for the transfer at the moment, was that until they'd finished?
Until they'd finished, yes. But as other members said, Oakley Road is now finished, so they would reconsider that.
Okay, I'm not sure if the transfer actually falls within my portfolio or not. District, I can't remember. Okay, but if we can just make a note of that.
We could inquire with the head of community services, couldn't
Yeah,
we?
we could.
Mm-hmm.
We could. Okay, paths across town greens.
We're waiting to see about the resin pit that goes in around the tree. Commons and Greens Officer and myself are meeting the contractor who is putting the resin pit in. We're meeting them on Friday, and then subject to the work done on the concourse, we will be bringing a report about replacing the paths across Leighton Green and possibly going forward other paths that are in need of replacement as well.
Okay.
Do you have an approximate date for that? And then when you're meeting the contractor?
Friday.
After?
11 o'clock meeting.
And that's to add a quote?
No, we've got the quotations. You all signed it off at the last
So
meeting.
that, I mean, that's when to... So what date is he likely to give you for works now?
I can tell you by email next week.
That'd be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Any other points on that item? No? Okay. Relocation of bike racks.
Now this item had been agreed previously at another meeting. It's just a case of I need to go and speak to the new landlord of the Harpenden Arms regarding the relocation of the bike racks. The bike racks are very well used, but obviously you've identified an alternative location. The tree officer has expressed concerns about our new proposed location because of the roots of the tree where the relocated bike racks would be going, or the new bike racks would be going.
Is that outside Peter Express, we
Yeah.
agreed? Yeah.
It's an area of high traffic and tree roots. He expressed some concerns about if we started excavating it, we could do damage to the tree.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so I've mentioned before, I was a bit concerned after obviously we thought it was a very good idea to relocate it where we thought, obviously this has now come up about the tree roots. However, on passing those bike racks every day, they are very well used, and I'm sure that's the station.
It is.
So is there, I don't necessarily see the merit in moving them further from the station when the bike racks opposite the library are hardly used. So now I've seen bikes, so they're not only on the bike racks, but they're on any bit of railing closer to the station. So even on the gate opposite there, people are even tying their bikes there now. So I am wondering if something more can be done at the station, perhaps.
there's a lot of capacity there already. I don't know how heavily it's used. You know, they didn't install those very large bike racks, did they, in the I don't know what direction it is, but the smaller car park by the ticket office.
But whether it's a safety aspect that people don't actually like to park their bikes there, I'm not sure.
Possibly. Yes, I wondered whether it was a good idea to actually move them myself. But perhaps we can have another look at that.
My understanding is that we don't get much choice about moving them or not having them there because the land is actually owned by Fullers, and they would be formally requested that we move them, and they sort of forgotten all their plans may have changed, but at first it wasn't to do with antisocial behaviour because that doesn't sound like to help it.
I'm just bikes have been stolen from that location.
That's
Yeah, it's slightly different from antisocial behaviour. It's annoying, but it's not.
A few years ago.
Not nearly as antisocial as it would have got if I'd caught the person doing it. But my understanding was their building plans were actually to extend slightly onto that site so that there wouldn't physically be space for them. Maybe they've changed their mind, it's probably worth finding out about that.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you know, the officer at SAD has said this. They're a little bit wishy-washy on their advice sometimes with things like this because they didn't give any advice on the large oak tree by what is now the Oddfellows Arms when we actually stood up to the county council and refused to let them carve away part of the land there that would almost certainly have carved through the root system of that tree, possibly killing it. And quite frankly, the trees officers were not much use to us in that argument. Whereas suddenly they're saying, oh, calamity here. What I'd like to know is, do they have suggestions of where, you know, could they be constructed? Where would be a more sensible place? Could we fit them in somewhere else on that square? Or is the whole area? Because I just feel that whole area by outside of Pizza Express is sort of a really nice area, and I'd like to do something to try and smother it up, and it's very underused.
Will the Harpenden Arms be removing these bike racks anytime soon? Are they still there? I can't remember.
They are, yeah.
Because if they do remove them and we haven't got other bike racks in place, then that's going to put more pressure on, obviously, parking bikes. I remember making the decision with the Environment Committee on this. It was a good decision. Penny farthing style bike racks will look good. Putting them in a more open position, like that of Pizza Express or anywhere else near the station, because it's open position, it will be more preventative for crime, because obviously that behind the Harpenden Arms is less open, more susceptible to people coming along and saying, oh yeah, I'll take that bike because not as many people can see me. But if it's out in the open, on the main road, and someone's got a little saw going through a chain on the bike, that's going to look a bit more obvious. So if we can put it in a position that's as open as possible, then I think that will be the best option here.
Yeah, that's to say, you're going to have there's a problem, there's something got to discover to think about. If you've got the dichotomy of say being open and where you put it, and the aesthetics effect on the town. I mean, this predates my convenience. I'm not sure where the suggested site is would have been my chosen site, certainly from the effect it's going to have on that.
Well, is it worth ascertaining whether the owners of the Harpenden Arms still want to move the bikes?
Yeah.
I mean, they've rebuilt the place or refurbished the place, haven't they? Maybe I don't know if there's a change of mind, but if that's their current position, then I suppose the second question is, where else do we put them?
Thank you. I'll take this from memory. You've got 4 bike racks, and then there's 2 sort of railings, aren't there?
Yeah.
Won't they be county council railings? Maybe?
Possibly not. Possibly would be within the percentage of Fullers. The furthest bike rack from the road is actually quite close to the bottom of their fire exit.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
I'm just thinking if you remove the 4 bike racks, then people still park them. If those railings have to stay for whatever reason, then just attach the bike there anyway.
I think the railings are there to stop people falling down the hole. Drop the behind.
I mean, in fact, I've noticed, thinking about it, that at you come out of the station, you're heading down towards Harding Parade, and you have those railings and the Pelican Crossing, that seems to have become a sort of unofficial, I'm not sure if it's an official or an unofficial bike rack there. A lot of bikes are parked there now and chained. Maybe that's the site that can actually, where it's configured. I'm not sure that it wouldn't be possible to consider having a bike rack there, and I think it would be less visually intrusive than the suggested site.
The other thing with the penny farthing stands, if I understand correctly, you can get more bikes chained up to them, can't you? Because they're bigger, they've got more steel on them. Whereas the ones we've got at the moment, just the U-shaped ones, you can only really fit two side by side. And I think the penny farthing ones, you've got a bit more space to put more bikes on, haven't you? If you think, I suppose they're much bigger. You've got a little small hole here, small hole there. So that.
Well, I would suggest the way forward is, first of all, we determine whether the Fullers and all the owners want to actually move them. You know, given that they've refurbished the place, and one of the reasons seemed to have been that they might have extended and wanted that space where the racks are. If that's no longer the case, that suggests one course of action. If they do want to move them, then the second choice is where do we put them? So that's what
And would you like me to consider, obviously, an area within the town square area by the fountain, and then possibly somewhere else on Harding Parade?
Yeah.
Yes. It's kind of a bit unsightly, isn't it? You know, given that, you know, as you come into the town,
exactly.
it's like the first thing you see on the
It's
left.
not going to look good entrance to the town. No.
Plus you've got the roots issue. Well, step by step, let's find out what Fullers want to do, but still. Okay, last one, item 9, registration of statutory allotments.
This is so it's not listed on the action tracker, but it is actually a report, Chair.
Okay. Right, 7.2. The Armed Forces Day. Do you want to say anything on?
Very much so. Sorry, I was interrupted.
Oh, okay. Well, let me just introduce the item, and I think there is people want to say things. We all know it's unfortunate that Mr. Gray is no longer doing it, although I think it went quite well this year. Before I get into that, did you want to speak on this?
That's all right, if I can have a few minutes.
Yes, please do. Go ahead.
Well, thank you for inviting me along today. I chaired the committee which ran on Forces Day this year.
Yep.
It's made up of volunteers from all the cadet groups that attend the day.
Yep.
We normally have a representative from the council who will attend the meetings, or we can send them questions and get responses. The council has always been fully supportive of the event and given us outstanding backing. But unfortunately, due to the fact I'm part of the Harpenden Air Cadets, but I'm being transferred out of the area, so I wouldn't be able to chair it for 2017, for next year.
Okay.
And unfortunately, no one else on the committee would be able to chair it, as it were. And we were wondering, as it has happened before when we had David and Sarah Norwood before him, a member of the council would chair the committee, set up the meetings, normally held in this room. We would come along and help out. But it would be more, Sarah would ask, well, David, what road closures would you want? We'd put forward what we'd want, and Sarah or David would go find out. So it wasn't really the chair ran the meetings or was the ultimate decider. It was more, it was someone who was impartial, because I had to be impartial throughout. She had an impartial person, and because they're part of the council, it was a lot easier to try and work out getting road closures, working out getting barriers put out, getting the common tapes off.
Yep.
And we were wondering if the council would be able to support the committee by providing someone to do that role for the coming years. And obviously from chairing it, I've got all the notes of what we had to get done, who we contacted, who's in each organisation, which I'd be happy to hand over. So I wouldn't be just saying thank you, goodbye, and running off. I'll be happy to pass everything over, have a meeting with the person if required, and pass over and answer any questions they might have.
Okay, thank you for that. I think the answer is yes, the council would be prepared to support it.
Yes, of course we would, but I think there are a great deal many caveats, Mr. Chairman. I want to make one thing very clear. As someone who holds a commission with the cadet organisation myself, I have nothing but the greatest of respect and admiration for all of the cadet organisations based in Harpenden and the surrounding area that have helped with this historically. There is no problem I have with them, and certainly I'd like to congratulate yourself, Mr. Birch, for all the work you've done. It's not easy to suddenly have that sort of thrown into your lap, and I have got rather the impression that's the case. However, and I wanted to say that these comments that I'm about to make are in no way aimed at you or members of the cadet forces. I hate to say I told you so. I read this and I'm appalled. Okay, we've got a group of people who have expected this to be run by someone else for ages. They've dropped it in your lap to deal with, but previous to that, they wanted all the things that it was built up to by a member of the public, but decided they didn't want that member of the public doing it, but they wanted they could just do it like that. Things like this do not organise themselves. This town council does not have, we've just gone through the action tracker and previously had, of our own HR things that we are statutorily obliged to do. We are not here simply to pick up the pieces of every single community event. A handful of people screw up. I can't mince my words with this because I've read through every single item of correspondence to do with this, a very large file indeed. I've had that member of the public speak to me about this, but I think there is a bright side to this, and that's that member of the public has no problem with the cadets or certainly with Mr. Birch. But I think there's been a lot of, and I shall put this bluntly, a lot of interpersonal issues amongst a lot of people who are not here tonight. I don't think these should be allowed to get in the way of the success of a day which is ultimately about supporting something greater than just, the different organisations and personalities involved. It's about saluting the contribution our armed forces, both past and present, make to our country, as well as our community. And it was a really noteworthy event that had grown up in Harpenden, and this year's event was really good as well. But I think we have a real risk with this, that it's going to be something that either gets dropped in our lap and we actually end up funding it and the officer ends up doing everything themselves, or it will die out. However, that member of the public has said to me, and I was quite surprised to hear this, they wish the event well and they are prepared to come back. I think if we are to take this on, we should support it. But if we're to take it on, it should be on the caveat, it is that person who chairs it, and they are not going to be simply bossed around by those certain people who aren't here. I respect the RBL, but I think this problem was a very clear case to me, having read the lengthy evidence file, and a very clear case of a few people shooting themselves in the foot and expecting a few people like the cadets, like other members of the public, simply to bail them out. And now they're asking the town council to bail them out. We can't do that. It's not fair to our already busy council, Mr. Chair. I think if we've got someone who is willing to rise above that and to come back and continue this event at the standards to which obviously Adam's managed to keep it, then we should be happy to do that. But it shouldn't be just writing a blank cheque, which is what several of these recommendations look like.
Did you want to say anything about the charities?
Yes, I was going to say, just if I may first of all, I think we're in a slightly difficult position because I think we're close to wandering off having to have discussions of things that frankly we can start talking about, not naming all of the individuals and how you manage it. I'm not sure how far we should go in discussing that in an open meeting such as that. However, whatever form it takes, and however we look at it, what I did want to say is, looking at on the recommendations 214, money is raised for charity, I would say that in any case, I think that wording should be changed to armed forces charity. It's an MOD event for armed forces. It is extremely specific that it is only the armed forces. And if you look at the website, there is a list of about 130 services-based charities, and I think we have to be very, very careful that we make sure this remains purely armed forces.
Well, I think we'd agree that we want an Armed Forces Day to go ahead. So it's a question of how to bring that about, given all the various personalities and issues involved.
Thank you. I'd like to agree totally with Councillor Chichester-Miles. I couldn't have said it any better myself. I do know a little bit about the background, and as he said, no disrespect to any of the parties involved. Obviously there were personal issues, and obviously I know the Member of Public would be more than happy to continue as he did. I believe in the past this was supported by the Town Council, and gradually it moved over towards...
But I believe that to be the case, yes.
Yes, and obviously with the Member of Public running the whole organisation side of it himself, it worked really, really well, and it was very unfortunate the way it turned out. The onus on the council to take over quite a lot of the admin side of it worries me. As part of a community group myself, and trying to get some town council support with some of the admin with that particular day, we were met with a huge amount of officer hours for, in volunteers terms, doesn't seem like a huge amount of work, but when you've got an employee taking something on, and there is a great cost to that, and so I don't even know if we've got the officer that would deal with this at present. I don't know who would take that on, but as Dan said, I actually think I would prefer it if the Member of Public is more than happy to come back on board and run the same event that they were running before. I'd be more than happy.
Okay, thank you.
I would, well, you have to considerably, actually, Councillor Martin. I think there is a motion that can be a way forward here, and that is that I think the Town Council should resolve, we should agree to the recommendation that the Town Council supports the event actively, but I would rather than the Town Council take responsibility for chairing, it should be the Town Council formally invites Mr Chris Gray to consider chairing a steering group. The support we can offer would be hosting that meeting. And certainly I think, taking minutes, that kind of thing, record keeping, that's one thing. But, I think you can have people who are members of the community steering groups, and certainly I'd expect to see, also particularly the cadets, represented. But I think, we've got some expertise there already, and I think, those people can go away, and they can go away from those board meetings, get those things done. But we can also support it. One thing we can do is we can support it with grant funding for events. So, for instance, if there are things like, the Red Devils, could be put, things like that, but that might cost a bit of money. That is something we can help with, and that is something, we can lend some considerable help with. The other thing is health and safety obligations. That's something where obviously we have expertise and we're used to doing for all sorts of events. There are bits and pieces we're used to doing, but I think, as Councillor Martin said, we need to be very careful to delineate exactly what is and what is not expected of Town Council after the time. Otherwise, that just balloons and gets out of control. But that's a proposal I'd like to make.
If I may make a suggestion, I think there's a lot that needs to be sorted out and looked at here and provide. I don't think it would be sensible to make a final decision tonight. I think it needs to be re-looked at. There are some things that need to be considered.
Well, I think I wasn't aware of the situation with Chris Gray. So maybe the answer is, will we defer this one?
I don't know if we'd have time to do that, will we? Which you mean to the next meeting?
Yeah, and where do we look at the issue? And how?
They need to start booking people usually straight after the last one.
When we did it for this year, because when I took it over, I took it onto the back end of last year and chairing it. When I started approaching people late November, beginning of December, can your band come along and lead the parade? We already get in touch with, no, we've been pre-booked for another event, or we've got another Armed Forces Day that's approached us. And obviously thank you for your comments on what you said, they're very much taken on board. And with the admin side of it, which I know is a big concern to the council, because it will put a lot of pressure on a council employee, which I'm not disregarding at all. What I did offer is and what the committee would still be willing to do, because I've spoken to them about this, we would ask, can we have a road closure put in from here to here? We'd be willing to fill in the paperwork, we just need the council to obviously get the official authorised signatures from here, maybe take it to St Albans, so the committee would still be happy to fill in paperwork if it was, and obviously inviting the outside company, like we had Help the Heroes come along, contacting them and so on. Like I said, we would just need more, someone at the council could possibly come along to the meetings and definitely say, instead of us all going on a meeting like we want this, this and this, going to the council and get told, you know, this isn't allowed. We'll have some of the council there just to support us and say, this is definitely not allowed, this definitely isn't, I can look into this. Because there were some meetings where we didn't have a council representative and we came up with these ingenious ideas and we thought this is going to be amazing. Then unfortunately we found out, you know, it's not allowed or it's not permitted, which, you know, is understandable because the council got their obligations, their health and safety, which we fully respected. So it'd be more, we're willing to fill in paperwork, we just need the council to get the signatures, take it to St Albans because we don't know who to contact and any other things which may arise that we might not be best equipped to deal with it, not being part of the council. So I understand it's more work for a member of your staff, however, we at the committee are willing to fill in paperwork in like I did for this year, I filled in all the proposals.
Yeah, got that. Okay, so how do we move forward? I mean, presumably we've got to have somebody from the council is going to have a meeting with Chris Gray to find out what he's willing to do and, you know, time frames and all that sort of stuff. So can we propose that the town clerk takes on that role to contact Mr Gray? To just kind of spec things out, find out where we are.
Could I ask if there was a meeting, if I could go along to it, because then I could talk to Mr Gray and let him know what happened, where we are, because in case he's got any questions, instead of it being fair, I could just answer in person.
I appreciate we have to move on this quickly, but until, you know, the comments from you two, I was not aware of Mr Gray's interest in staying with us. So, okay, so first step then, town clerk to contact Mr Gray to scope things out. For example, I mean, if he wants to use the triangle, for example, for all of his spectaculars, as it were, then 2.1.3 won't be needed. However, 2.1.4, that's probably needed if the town council might not be taking it and so on. I think the town would like to support it, but without a substantial commitment of administrative time. Is that a fair comment?
That's absolutely a fair comment. I mean, if we could, that is something we can do now, which is describe, you know, delineate exactly what time we would want to commit. I just suggest the town council officer who can minute the meetings and
support various things as discussed.
The town council officer is well placed to say, no, you can't have a Hercules land on the cost. That's never going to be granted. Whereas, you know, they are in a position to offer the advice like that, which is good. But also, you know, getting forms filled out that we're used to doing anyway. So the committee members are free to do what they're good at, which is speaking to their contacts to book and set up events. You know, having those having been previously agreed by the committee, and then we can talk about specific money and hours and things once we've investigated once the town clerk's been delegated to Mr Gray.
Okay.
And what we could do is, if we take it on as a committee, it could be like the old practice in the nature reserve, whereby we nominate the chairman does not have to be a councillor, and committee members are co-opted from interested members of the community.
Sounds fun. Okay. Have we got all that?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. You're very welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, otherwise you
No, I would like that, that's right.
Okay, sure. Okay, so that's time for today. Harpenden Town Council. Again, another important event, which I think went very well.
Extremely well, apart from the rain shower in the afternoon. Sorry, I couldn't do anything about that.
Yeah, seems to have gone very well. I think moving it, I'm right in saying we moved that, didn't we, from Northampton Park onto the triangle.
Yes,
on the common?
in 2016, yes. We were approached by Harpenden Roundtable as part of their 50th birthday celebrations for the carnival, and they asked if we could merge it
Okay.
very successfully.
So, what we're looking to do we want to work with Harpenden, just looking at 2.1.1, do we want to work with Harpenden Roundtable to deliver it? Prima facie, I thought the answer to that one was yes. And the great advantage of these large events like this, and like classics on the common and Christmas events and so forth, is that it brings footfall into the town, which helps with our strategic objective of supporting the local economy, particularly in the high street. So, prima facie, I would have thought the answer to the recommendations and two is yes. Dan?
I completely agree with this, but there's one thing that I think was talked about last time when I asked, we agreed to merger as amongst those who agreed to it. Feedback I've heard from members of the public is really great day, always enjoyed the Discovery Day, nice to have it, it's a bigger event. The band was very well thought of, all the different stalls, but it isn't a fair. We have lots of those already. Could we not have a fairground thing? I also don't think it's fair. This sounds a little bit like getting violin out, but what about if you have families who are going down there because they know it's an event which historically has lots of free stuff to do? What if you have a limited budget, and of course you have a small child and they're going to look straight at the front there rather than being able to do all the other things that were cheaper or free to do, and say, Mummy, Jenny, can I have a ride on that? Can I have a ride on that? And that's a criticism you hear from Harpenden families about the carnival, about other events, whereby you've got a fun fair which is operated by independent operators, not by the Roundtable, not by us, and they're all about profit. And I just think that the Discovery Day has always been successful. We've never had that problem. And the Roundtable, when they came here, said they're quite happy to get rid of the fun fair.
It is this year.
Yeah. I believe there were one or two small rides.
There could have been some smaller rides, but there were also a lot of things that were free.
Yeah.
There were lots of entertainment.
I just think that when you've got the rides there, they detract from what was a very different. What was good about Discovery Day was it was a green kind of event. It was, for want of a better term, rural. It was about the common. It was about nature. So I like this immensely. I have a real misgiving about any kind of fairground rides, even the little ones.
I was going to say, I'm actually fairly neutral either way on it, although the small one. I was going to say, it is a carnival as well as a Discovery Day.
Carnival isn't a fair day, it's a different thing.
Well, it can have a, depends how you define a carnival and where you are for which carnival.
True.
May I just say, there does have to be a certain amount of income generated from the smaller fairs, the sponsorship. Obviously, the Roundtable is responsible for sourcing, which manages to keep our costs down. You'll note under the financial implications 4.1 that our budget is £4,500, which is the same as when we were putting on Discovery Day, all on our own. We went out and got additional sponsorship of £1,500, which covers the cost of the procession, which, as you can appreciate, traffic management is just over £2,000. £1,300 of that was just for the procession alone. So if we didn't do the procession perhaps and still got the sponsorship, we could put it into reducing the amount of fairground rides or the smaller fairground rides. The procession was very well received, even though it was quite a long one this year.
That would certainly be a good idea. The procession definitely is what carnival, in my understanding of the word, is all about. And I guess I worry that what was already a successful event, we ran independently, really wants to support the carnival, really wants to support the Roundtable. I worry that what was Discovery Day is being pushed more and more and more into the background when actually we didn't sort of need to be pushed into any background. So carnival by all means, but if we can get rid of the slightly tackier commercial elements, that would be nice.
Any other thoughts or comments? So apart from getting rid of the tacky stuff,
Which is technical term.
are we all right with the recommendations? 2.1.1, 2.1.2. All in favour?
Yeah.
That's unanimous. Unanimous, thank you very much. Okay, Harpenden Golf Club yard extension. Motivation seems to be theft of golf buggies from the current location. What they seem to be looking for is to extend the yard by 6 feet, which doesn't seem an awful lot. Are there any planning implications here on?
No, the only
de minimis?
are the permissions from trees and woodlands.
Okay.
There's no secretary of state permission.
So
it's just in the...
Okay. So subject to permission from the CPC, subject to these. Okay, Councillor Cheshire.
I'm sorry, I think you're being Mr. Tyson or something. I agree with this. It's not an unreasonable thing to ask for. Some people might say this is the growth of commercialisation and urbanisation of that club in the middle of what was not a parkland, would be common. And some people criticised that before. Including, we get regular criticism from members of the public about the design of the new cricket club, about the design of the new golf club, things like that. And I think we have to balance that. But what I do see here is a bargaining chip. I don't want to go too much into blue, but we have another ongoing issue with Harpenden Common Golf Club concerning property we hold in trust with people of Harpenden. And I would like to add a 2.2 recommendation. So we agree to the extension, permission is granted to proceed with these works to extend this. 2.2, no works to proceed. That permission is has a caveat. No work to proceed until the other issue. I'm very aware. I don't want to go into blue. The other issue is satisfactorily resolved to the chairman and town clerk's satisfaction.
Okay. Any other points?
Yes, sorry to disagree with you actually this time on this. I can appreciate your comments and where you're coming from, but I don't know that this bargaining really, it doesn't fit well with me that they're asking for something which is obviously going to be a positive for them and is a way of mitigating damage, theft or whatever. I don't feel comfortable. I'm not entirely sure of the other issue, because I believe that was in the meeting that I was absent from, but I'm not really happy about playing one off against the other.
Can I suggest that we continue the debate in blue?
Yes, I was just going to suggest that. Talk about that in blue.
Right.
Okay.
So we're going to go into private discussion.
At the end.
Okay, fine.
At the end. Okay, alright, so let's move on to the next one then, which is the inclusion of Marquis Meadow into Bafford Springs Local Nature Reserve. Any comments on this one? It's fairly straightforward.
Good, yeah, good idea. Yeah.
No comments? Okay. So can we move to 2.1 then? All in favour of the recommendation that the Environment Committee approve the written supplementary information for the declaration on this one? Okay. Well, not being hair splitting, but presumably all members of the committee don't need to sign it.
No, it would be probably the town clerk actually, and mayor.
Okay. Fine. Now we're on to the registration of statutory allotment sites. So, Heath Close. So that won't be registered obviously because that's being developed. What's the effect of registration?
It allows additional protection for the sites if they can't be developed or they have to, if you want to develop an allotment site, you then have to take it out of being a statutory allotment, which means you have to get the Secretary of State approval to have it taken out, and you have to demonstrate there's no need for it.
Is there any reason why they weren't registered by the district council?
I can't comment, Chair. No, my understanding
So
is
they're
that
definitely not registered by anybody?
there is a degree of work that needs to be undertaken by the relevant officer at the Town Council. I understand from the previous town clerk that Oakley Road, we're not sure whether Oakley Road is registered or not, but we definitely Riverside allotment under East Harpenden and Gardening Club is definitely not registered as a statutory allotment site. So it's a case of reviewing now we've got all of the allotment sites in Harpenden under the Town Council's control. It's a case of a housekeeping task, making sure everything's registered and also registered within the name of the Town Council.
Yes.
I should reiterate personal non-pecuniary interest as a trustee and secretary of Riverside, East Harpenden Garden Club, of which Riverside is one of. Even to my knowledge, this has been something that's been rumbling on for probably 3-4 years, something like that. I was always under the impression that this was something that took a lot of work, a lot of officer time, was very complicated, and I could appreciate why we had to wait for the district council allotments to be transferred first before putting all 3 forward for statutory status. However, obviously, after further research, it's a really, really straightforward procedure. It's a matter of sending off, as far as I know, just a letter really. There's no register as such. You'll basically just advising the Secretary of State, as far as I know, that you want these to have statutory status, and as far as I know, that's it. I'm very concerned that obviously after waiting so many years for the transfer of Heath Close and Oakley Road, the moment Heath Close was transferred, it suddenly became a depot. So obviously there was, for some time, there was obviously, I assume, no intention of making that a statutory allotment. Riverside allotments is one of East Harpenden Garden Club's most popular allotments. More than ever, we've taken land that hasn't been used on that site for probably 50 years, and there's so many people now wanting allotments that we've used almost every spare inch there. For the sake of a letter, and I expect a map, obviously, of the area, going off on its own Secretary of State for these, I don't see why we have to. It's going to take some considerable time to search through records, I'm guessing, to find out if we've got statutory status for all of them. I don't know why one letter can't go off actually requesting it for all of them. If there's no register as such, why will it matter if that's duplicated? I would really like, I don't see that this has to come back for another agenda item because council is already in agreement for these to be made statutory. I would just like for this to happen, and I really don't see why we need to wait any longer.
Any other comments? So what do we have to do? Have the report for information only, with the future report being presented to the next meeting?
Well, I envisaged that the future report was that the allotments have been registered and they've been accepted by the Secretary of State. That's what the future report would be.
Okay. All right. Does that seem all right? Well, let's move ahead with it then. Are we all right with the recommendation then at 2.1? Note the report for information only with the future report being presented to the next meeting. Essentially stating that they've been
Absolutely, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everybody all right?
Yeah.
That was unanimous, thank you very much. Okay, Next one, the Hampstead Park Green Space Action Plan. Does anybody have any comments on this that they want to see back, or alternatively, if they, what's the time frame?
I understand the first consultation period finishes in August.
If anybody has any thoughts subsequent to this meeting and wants to feed them back to them formally, they're very welcome to do so.
All I was going to say is, I mean, on as far as it's got on this consultation, the recommendation seems reasonable. Looking at the core aspirations, all I'd comment is that I would anticipate that at some stage we will have something to rather flesh it out, since some of them are decidedly vague and woolly in a way.
Oh, yeah.
So I just look forward to the details.
I mean, one of them, to install appropriate signage to from and around the park. I mean, maybe I'm incorrect, but we've got plenty of signage in and around the park. I mean, it's not the greatest aspiration, really, considering we've got signage already, and I don't necessarily see a problem with that. I mean, how many more signs do we need?
I think the case of replacing some signage, for instance, if you go to the western end of the park, where you cross onto the Rossington Estate, estate currently owned by the Experimental Centre, there's a notice board there that tells you more about the history of the park, the Experimental Centre and agricultural experimentation in Harpenden. That's fairly faded and doesn't compare well to the notice boards provided by Rossington Estate themselves, the Agricultural Research Centre. So it's not a question of adding more signage, it's replacing signage that's got a bit tatty. We've seen that happening in two of the other major parks in the district, Clarence Park and Verlaine Park and St Albans. So it's a question of not adding more, heaven forbid, but replacing the stuff that's static. The vagueness is partially there because this will tie in with the possibility of renewing facilities at Harpenden Leisure Centre and Harpenden Swimming Pool in the coming 5 years or so. So obviously, once that's more firmly in place, once people find out what budget's there, that gives us a far better idea of the art of the possible in the park. Because you'll hear some people, members of the public, some councillors even saying, let's move this around, let's do that. Once that's more in place and we have a better idea of the money, it will hopefully look less vague and less woolly. At the moment, it's a politician's hedge, I truly think.
Okay. So if anybody has any comments on the document, revert to Councillor Chichester Miles.
By the 5th of August.
By the 5th of August. I don't have any myself. It's sufficiently vague to be... Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
All in favour of the recommendation 2.1? Thank you, that's unanimous. Okay. Penultimate report. Native oaks donated from the Jubilee Woods project. So, okay, so acorns were gathered, saplings grown. How big are they?
And outside of the car park.
Okay.
2-3 feet high at the most.
3 feet high. Okay. Okay. So they need to. Essentially, what we're looking at is a suitable site to put.
Absolutely.
Have you got any ideas?
Not near any bike racks.
All I was going to say.
There are some recommendations, recommended areas in 3.4.
All I was going to say, some of us are not likely to be around to see them come to full fruition, but they need to be. But obviously, I suppose the obvious thing that does need to be thought about, and I'm sure it's taken account of it, is they will get big.
Yes, they will.
Yes.
They will be huge trees.
Yes, they will be very, very big trees.
So
I mean, I think some thought, even within an area, say, like the Hayfield or Triangle, obviously thought needs to be going into, somebody's got to sort of try to become capability brown and think about what they're going to look like in 50 years' time.
Yes.
Well, maybe they could be put in Rothamsted and help with their aspirations in terms of to undertake proactive vegetation management, benefit people, wildlife, work to increase Rothamsted's environment. I mean, if you think about it, if they're going to get big and they're going to grow, then Rothamsted's the biggest place to put them. So that's probably maybe the best one we can think of.
But it's not our land.
Oh yeah, okay. All right, okay. Oh, okay. I didn't know.
I think Councillor Gillen's suggestions follow assist if you weren't smoking so much as he said it. There are three good places there. My only thing with the triangle is I think we do need to be very careful because you've got the road bit there and it's actually quite exposed. I'm thinking a very large oak tree with a large canopy is going to go boom if it's in the middle. If it's at one end, it's going to obscure a fairly iconic image of Harpenden. People take the photos from the barn trees, the cottages and everything, and the old bakery house. And at the other end, I'm guessing Fuller's aren't going to take right kindly to a massive tree undermining their newly built expensive pub. Not that it will be new when the oak tree's that big. But yeah, in principle, that sounds great. Yeah. The hayfield, again, you've got, I think the place near the Cricket Club Drive is a really good idea, but
it would be the other side of the hedge. If you go down the Cricket Club Drive, the other side of the hedge, actually in that corner there.
I think it is just all of these places are very exposed for a tree of that size that's got that top-heavier canopy. An idea I had, though, is just over from the hayfield where you've got the gate down to where the picnic benches are by Jingley Dell. There's a sort of dell there which would give it some cover from the wind, possibly.
Okay.
For one. But do we have to plant more in one place? Or
no.
No, come on.
But bearing in mind, as you say, how large they're going to grow, which is one of the suggestions we put Marquis Meadow on there, because it's quite a large area with not a lot of trees on it.
But with Marquis Meadow though, I don't think any real plan has been drawn up yet for that, has it? So what we don't want to do is plant some very special trees and then find in 2 years' time that you want a meadow there. So
move the tree.
So I don't know that is a great idea unless the volunteers are sure, the town council is sure that this part of it's going to be this or that. I don't think we should start from.
Well, you could put them at one end, on the boundary.
That'd be the safest bet, wouldn't it?
And the thing about the common is, I think you wouldn't want to sort of disturb the openness of the common.
You have to be very careful. Since it is a common. It is. You do have to think about it, since I think technically commons aren't technically not originally a tree habitat, except around the edges.
If you put them too openly, like Seven Oaks given its cricket pitch, you can end up in Seven Oaks becoming no oaks as it did.
Yeah. I don't know how much the Commons and Greens officer would be able, or is this sort of in conjunction? Yeah, okay. I obviously don't know how much experience she has in trees. Would it be wise to go to local arborists and things as well?
There is the ecology group that advises on the management plan, and she could go to them and ask them. Unless members have any burning desires for anywhere in particular. Okay.
And actually, it's harder to find a suitable place.
That's why we're asking you.
I think that's a suitable. I think that's a sensible suggestion, because I certainly wouldn't pretend to be expert enough to know. I might have an idea of where I think it would look nice, but that might not be the same thing as where it's sensible for it to go.
So what should we do in terms of a recommendation? Seek advice from
the ecology group.
If we can amend that recommendation.
And then report.
We want to keep the donated trees.
Yes.
Who's in charge of watering?
Yes.
But we will refer. Yeah, but we'll refer to the ecology group for their input. We don't have to do them immediately.
Yes, tree planting season is traditionally the autumn, isn't it?
Okay.
Provided we keep on watering them.
Sure. Is everybody okay with that recommendation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Right, last one. Brought it into blue. Football Academy, High Porter's Hill, Mugger, in the games area. They approached the council.
They did.
The town clerk helpfully spoke to district and determined this wasn't a sort of commercial purpose, described in 3.7. So therefore, presumably we get some money, but that's not your objective.
No.
The objective is to let people, an outside group, use this, or community group. So what do people think about this?
It will come as no surprise to members of this committee that I'll be behind this. A few reasons for it. Firstly, obviously we all know about the 3G pitch up in Roundwood that's just got rejected by District Council. I think if we rejected these guys' use of the football, of the pitch here for football, it's starting to send out a message, oh, the council here doesn't want to support football as a sport. Secondly, it's already being used, I can see, for Watford FC. Not the greatest club, but
It's
oh
an
well.
outreach project.
It's now
Outreach
okay.
project dealing with difficult young adults.
Okay. So it's already being used, and the opening hours themselves, 6:30 till 8 or 7:30, depending on how many people they've got. That seems reasonable to me. That's not too late. And thirdly, I think we should be supporting football development, football academies, considering most recent European Championships. I think our football teams need all the help they can get at grassroots levels to develop decent players to help win us major trophies in the future. So it's these kind of things across the country that are going to help UK sports, so we should be getting behind it.
Any other thoughts?
So we can get Harpenden players all successful, so rugby
Rugby players, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Can I just ask them, you know, are the floodlights on anyway?
Yes, the floodlights are on a timer.
I thought so, yeah. So, is it currently being used very much by locals?
I couldn't comment, and I'm not up there that time in the evening.
So the group on Tuesdays, they have permission from us
Yes, it is.
anyway.
Mhm.
I'm just, obviously I'm totally for this. I'm just wondering if we start booking different groups into it and hiring it out. This is
They preclude the
Exactly.
community use from, you know, the free use for which it is intended.
So is there a way we could, I mean, I could take a look on a few evenings, but especially over summer holidays, see how much this is actually used, and would it then alienate people that aren't part of a football academy?
Well, I mean, typically would they be using this over the summer holidays, this
No.
group? Because obviously football's not over the summer, so obviously who will be up there on summer holidays will be different to who would be there in, say, October or March, that time of the year.
I think the same, so yes.
But if I could draw your attention to 3.1, it says they have been supporting Harpenden Colts and Harpenden Town FC, etc., etc. So it might be an outside group, but it's doing things for people within the
Oh yeah, I don't mean that. I just mean some people aren't necessarily part of a group, or you know, I don't know if you have to pay to be a member of the Colts and things like that. But yeah, so I think some people actually just enjoy outdoor activities without actually being, you know, you have to drive to lots of, you know, the pitches and things like that. So I'm just obviously minded that it is it's for a local area, and I'd just like to ensure really that we're not taking a free provision for locals there. Just
And taking it out of the limited water availability. There is also the parking issue to be concerned about. The car park immediately in front of Waterfield Park is not very large. There's currently an abandoned car which we're trying to organise to have removed up there at the moment. So there's probably spaces for no more than half a dozen. Yeah, and we would get
You'd get more than half a dozen, not huge, but you would get a bit more than half a dozen in that.
maybe.
But they're looking at between 10 and 20 attendees, so you'd be looking at possibly 10 cars.
Lots of car sharing there.
Could you get 10 cars in that?
Maybe.
You might be able to, and possibly get 10 in.
You've got to 20 lot. the allotment.
Yeah, well, to be fair, there's usually residents all round there, and even sometimes blocking the access to the allotment. So, yeah, I should imagine parking's quite stretched in the evening anyway.
Well, I mean, those cars wouldn't necessarily be parked there the whole time that they're playing. I mean, these
Drop off.
people, drop off. I mean, some may cycle or walk, but you would expect it to be drop off and you pick up.
And in fact, it's easiest if you drop off at the street and you just walk through.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, those points are noted. It does say in 2.1.1 that the Town Council would enter into negotiations which would include making sure that
I mean, I can't imagine
locals are not being
I can't imagine the
squeezed out.
parking would be much different to the Tuesday night anyway, would it? So we would
No,
all-
I understand they're local lads and they walk.
So
when they
what
don't
they're
play,
already doing on
and when they don't play on a Tuesday night at Porter's Hill, they go and do a youth session at Weekhampstead, and they walk from Batford to Weekhampstead to go and use the 4G pitch there, youth section running.
That's good. Walking backwards to Winston. Yeah, that's very good.
Okay, so we consent to move to the recommendations in 2.1, both of them. All in favour? Thank you very much, that was unanimous. Okay, we're now going into blue, exempt, I ask members of the public to depart.